What's up, people? Well, we've got some news. Got two items that I really want to go over. The first being something that happened today. It's somewhat major news, maybe not as much to us as it is down to the good people in the Bay Area, but still, Matt Flynn has been traded to the Oakland Raiders for a 2014 fifth-round pick and a 2015 conditional unknown pick. Now, I assume that conditional pick is based on how much he plays. And based off the way the Raiders are conducting their business, it looks like they're going to trade Palmer to Arizona. It looks like that they're going to give Flynn a lot of guaranteed money. He's going to play. So I feel pretty confident that we're going to get whatever that conditional pick may be, another fifth rounder, a sixth rounder. Honestly, I don't really care that much. So, the trade. I wanted us to trade Matt Flynn basically ever since the season ended because I just knew that he's not going to get the opportunity to play up here, and I like Matt Flynn. I think he might be a good player. I think he has a very good chance to succeed, and I wanted him to go someplace where he could succeed, and Oakland, I don't know if it's that place, but he definitely has the opportunity to play. Now, as for what we got, you'll look at that and say, oh, you got two fifth-round picks, or maybe it's a fifth-rounder and a sixth-rounder. That's obviously not that much, and it's not. But I think it's fair value for somebody that we were going to get rid of anyway. Fair value for somebody who really is unproven in this league. And fair value for somebody who was drafted in, I believe, the seventh round. So you could say his stock has gone up a little bit when you look at how Green Bay had to spend a seventh rounder on him. But, even if we had just gotten a sixth rounder out of this, I would have been fine with it. Or even just a seventh rounder because of the cap relief. We save $5.25 million this year, and I think $6.75 million next year in cap room. Obviously, this year saving $5 million basically pays for the contract we gave Michael Bennett, and next year saving close to $7 million against the cap is going to help us re-sign players like Cam Chancellor and I believe Brandon Browner, maybe extend Earl Thomas, decide what we want to do with Richard Sherman, and down the pipe, re-signing Russell Wilson, because we will have to do that in 2 or 3 years. So the cap relief is what it's about to me. I like the move. I like what we're doing. As for the picks, I've seen this franchise pull great picks out of later rounds, so that doesn't it doesn't bother me that we didn't get a very high pick out of this because, I thought we might have been able to get a fourth-round pick, but I got no problem with what we ended up getting. And, this front office has been very good at pulling good picks out of later rounds. You're talking about Richard Sherman, outside of Darrelle Revis, maybe the best cornerback in the game right now. He was a fifth-round pick. I think Cam Chancellor was like a sixth-round pick. So I don't doubt this franchise's ability to utilize those picks. And even if we don't utilize these particular picks, I feel that the cap relief of not having Matt Flynn on this roster is more than enough benefit for us to make this trade. So that's how I view it. We shed some money, and Flynn gets a chance to start anew in Oakland. So I wish him well. I like him. I felt bad for him when he lost the starting job because I don't think he deserved what happened. But with looking at how things ended up, it was the right move. What else can you say? Now, the second thing, this happened last week. The Seahawks signed defensive tackle Tony McDonald from the Miami Dolphins. And, he's not a special player, but it seems like he's a decent player. Not much to say about him. He played fairly well when he was in Miami, but he's a backup defensive tackle. The only thing that's interesting to me is that this probably means we're not going to keep Alan Branch, and at this point I'm fine with that. I didn't think Alan Branch was a great player or anything, but I did think he was pretty good. But to me, Tony McDonald is probably just as good. I don't know if he's a little better or a little worse, but he's right in that same category. He's either, as good, a little better, or a little worse. I don't know what the case may be, but so with all that in mind, I've really got to believe that the big Seattle Seahawks offseason news is done until the draft. We don't have any players I can think of that we might cut other than maybe Sidney Rice, and I really don't see that happening. Leon Washington's gone already. We got Matt Flynn out of here. You know, it's obviously we're paying Zach Miller a lot of money, but I don't think we cut him. Maybe we restructure him, but I don't see why we would need to cut him right now when we have plenty of money and he's important to our offense. So, to me, we've kind of set our roster, and looking ahead to the draft, just to lay out some expectations for this team, because we don't have a first round pick, we don't have a seventh round pick. We might have a couple extra picks kicking around in the middle because of compensation and stuff like that in previous trades. I can't remember. But now with the Matt Flynn trade especially, we have to target a backup quarterback at some point in this offseason, probably through the draft. And I don't know who it's going to be, because there's a lot of debate over who the best quarterbacks in this draft are. And there are at least 5 different viable candidates to be the best quarterback in this draft. It's not like it is usually when everybody kind of has a pretty good feel on who's who. I mean, Matt Barkley, he could go in the top 10. He could go in the 3rd round. I don't know what Matt Barkley's going to do at this point. I think he's going to go top 10 still, because there might be that need. But to me, it's a big unknown. Geno Smith, I have him going number 2 to Jacksonville, but he could easily fall out of the 1st round because a lot of people don't trust him. Tyler Wilson is a guy a lot of people like, but he's not any more than a 2nd rounder, and with those guys, they could fall to the 5th round before you even realize what happened. E.J. Manuel, Ryan Nassib. There's a lot of different quarterbacks here, and I think a lot of them could potentially go as high as the 1st round and as low as the 5th round. It's just really hard to say. So we're only going to know when draft day gets here. So when our 3rd round and 4th round picks come up, we're going to have to take a look at who's available. Is Tyler Wilson still there? Is E.J. Manuel still there? And make a selection based on what we see. One thing I was thinking is that we might trade for Colt McCoy, but it looks like the Niners already got that. So, you know, I think they kind of had the same idea that I did with that, because the Niners didn't have a backup quarterback at all until they made that trade. Other than quarterback, defensive tackle, our defensive tackle situation is adequate, but if one of the really good defensive tackles in this draft drops, because there are a lot of really good defensive tackles in this draft, Starlo Tuleli, Sheldon Richardson, John Hankins, a couple other different names. I think there are like 5 or 6, maybe even 7 first-round talents at defensive tackle. The Sharif Floyd. But if somebody falls to our 2nd-round pick, like somebody who I think is going to be in the 1st round, like Sheldon Richardson or Jonathan Hankins, if they somehow fall their way down there, because there are so many great defensive tackles in this draft, then, you know, I will jump all over that and I'll be more than happy. But even if that's not the case, I think with our 2nd round pick, we should take a look at whoever the best defensive tackle is left on the board. Even with this Tony McDonald signing, and even with some of the other talent we have, I feel like we can get better at that position. And other than that, linebacker, I like our linebackers, but I think we could use one more player as depth and somebody who could potentially be a starter. Obviously, KJ Wright is a beast, and we have other good players at linebacker, like we might keep Leroy Hill, I don't know. I think I said before that Leroy Hill's a decent enough player. I'm kind of sick of his crap, but he might stick around. We'll have to see. Mike Morgan's a good backup, but I feel like we could use one more player there. So now that I feel like this roster is pretty well set until the draft, that would be my itinerary for the draft. All right. You guys let me know what you think. Team continues to wheel and deal really well. I'm really enjoying rooting for this team right now, and that's all I got. See you later.